got shooters everywhere. That shit that's so crazy. I can go like anywhere. Pull up choppers everywhere. We got pound bags everywhere. It's come and go, no bus fare. And I just talk like, oh yeah. Know they told your guardians they don't want to get his sparking. They go got him parking. Oh, LA back on them bricks again. They say that boy been having pounds.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Sorry if there's some background noise, my neighbor's blowing something. But today, the topic of the day, I've been getting asked a lot, is obviously the Z is undergoing a whole new build. We're gonna be making 1,000 wheel horsepower plus. And the common question is, how much does it cost to do that? So that's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. One thing I do wanna touch on real quick, if you guys have not seen my last video, I took my mom for a ride along in my drift vet for Mother's Day. Her reaction is literally hilarious. You guys gotta go check it out. I'm trying to get that video to 500 likes. I'll watch through the whole video, drop a like on it, drop a comment. Be greatly appreciative of that. And I'll go ahead and put the video, a link right above if you guys wanna skip to that after this one's over. So for those of you guys that are not familiar with the old setup on this, it was a stock motor car up until what we're doing now. Completely stock on open motor. It's got like 20,000 miles on it. The previous setup was a single turbo, which is what we're still gonna be doing again, but it had a Garrett 6465 turbo. It had AUS 1400cc injectors in it. I did just raffle off the turbo kit, so that's why nothing's in here right now. So that's what we ran previously. We never got a good dyno pass out of it. We're assuming it made around 700 wheel horsepower. It went 60 to 130 in 6.4 seconds, which is right around the 700 wheel range. But that's where we're switching up from this point on. And it had the Z-Speed Stage 4 6-puck clutch in it, South Bend flywheel, stock trans. So that's what we ran previously. Got a little bit bored with that, so we're gonna up the ante and try to hit that 1,000 wheel mark. So if you guys are thinking about boosting your car and you haven't had a turbo setup or supercharged setup on it previously, I also did a video prior how much it does cost to turbo VQ. Sony Z or G, they're gonna cost the same. If you're just trying to look for like a stock platform where you're gonna make between 500 and 700 horsepower, you can do that on a VHR or stock bottom end. The trick too is just keeping the torque low. So if you guys are interested in doing that to your car, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description as well to the video that I talked about how much it costs to just simply boost it with no motor work, anything like that. So since we are shooting for the 1,000 horsepower mark, there is a right way and there is a wrong way to do it. The big thing that's been plaguing the VQ community for so long, which I'm sure most of you know about, is head lift. Pretty much any Z or G that's trying to push over like 800 wheel horsepower, they're all gonna end up lifting the heads. It's not always like a rod failure issue or a piston issue. It's typically just they lift the heads on them. So once that happens, the motor's gotta come apart. And a lot of people haven't figured it out for a long time. Soho Motorsports actually did recently figure out how to solve VQ head lift. For sure, there's no question about it. They've been making over 1,100 wheel horsepower for hundreds of passes on the dyno, tons of passes at the track. They have the current record right now. It's like 940 at, I think, 150 something miles an hour in their Z. So check out their page. That's actually who I am working with for my new motor build on this. So we're gonna hop into how much it costs, what's gonna be done to the motor, everything of that sort. We're gonna get down to all of it. So if you guys are ultimately looking to, make 1,000 horsepower in a VQ, you're gonna learn exactly what you gotta do today. So originally what we were gonna do, I was gonna do simple pistons, rods, head studs, and get the deck closed, and that's what I was gonna do. That'll cost probably like, I think I was gonna end up paying like 7 to 8 grand prior. Now I'm gonna end up spending a lot more doing what I wanna do, but honestly, I wanna go completely crazy with this thing. I've had bunches of cars I bought prior that were already built and already done. I wanted something I'm gonna be able to do the whole thing from start to finish and call it my own build. So that's exactly what we're doing with this. And we'll go ahead and jump into the prices now. So we're still doing a single turbo kit. My buddy Mike is actually building the kit for me. So if you guys have someone that's able to be a fabricator for you and build a kit, that's only gonna make it cheaper for you. But if you don't have that accessible, you can buy a Soho. I think they do a stage 3 kit now to make that type of power. There's a bunch of other kits you can buy off the shelf. As far as a turbo kit goes, you're just gonna have to up the injectors, you're gonna have to up the turbo size, anything that like comes with off the shelf is probably gonna be like a 700 wheel horsepower max kit out the door. So that's why we're gonna go custom with this. So previously, I had a lot smaller piping. We're gonna go 3.5 inch now. On the down pipe, I got a Precision 7675 turbo that we're gonna be running. This is one of the big boys you see on a lot of the Supras. So the cost, as far as that goes, we're gonna hop into that. There are certain things I was able to get discounts on in several of these parts, so I'm gonna talk about what it'll be out the gate for anyone that's just gonna hop online, buy it off the shelf. So for my turbo and the hardware, that would be $3,165. So we'll start off with $3,100 for just the turbo. I know it sounds expensive, but once you're trying to get into this horsepower range, you really do gotta pay to play. So $3,165 for the turbo. I'm gonna run a running tab on the calculator here. So $3,165 for the turbo. I'm going to have to upgrade the injectors now from the 1400s. We're gonna be upping to a 1700 cc injector from Injector Dynamics. So for the injectors themselves, those are gonna be 1,500 bucks. So we're gonna add that to the running total, $3,165 plus 1,500. We're currently at 4,665 bucks. And we will move on now to more fuel. So what I'm gonna be running twin Hellcat pumps. Hellcat pumps, you can pick them up for 130 bucks a pop. That'll be 260. We're gonna add on over to there. And then I'm gonna have to switch out to the twin fuel pump setup. That's gonna be $628 that we're going to add to the tab. So with the turbo and fuel so far, we're at 5,553 bucks. Now we'll move on to more of the turbo kit parts. So I'm going to need a tile blow-off valve and tile wastegates. I'm gonna need 2 of those, so that's $256 for the wastegates. So we'll call it 510 bucks. My math's probably off, it's probably like 520, but we're gonna call it 510 I'm thinking of right now. Blow-off valve is another 265 bucks for the tile blow-off valve. We're gonna add that up. So we're now looking at a running total of 6,328 bucks. So that's pretty much what it's gonna cost for fuel system and turbo, depending upon what turbo you go with. I believe you can make 1,000 wheel at the 6870. We're not trying to really push it close to where the turbo's kind of is in its max efficiency range. So I want a little bit bigger, plus we might be trying to make a little bit more in the dyno. We'll see when the time comes. And I got, like I said, the Precision 7675. I believe it's rated for 1,300 crank horsepower. So if we're gonna be shooting for right around the 1,100 horsepower, that won't be too big of a problem for us at all. So before we get to the motor, we'll talk about what we got to upgrade as well, because like I said, we do have a single disc Z-Speed Stage 4 6-puck in it right now. That's gonna have to go. It's rated to max like 710 torque, I believe. So that's going out now. We're going to be going with another Z-Speed clutch, but it's going to be the Z-Speed triple disc. So since we're pushing that high horsepower number, this one's good to 1,100 torque, which will be more than enough for what we're gonna be needing it for. And that is looking at to be right at 1,900 bucks. So 1,900 for the clutch. We're gonna add that to the total. We're now at $8,228. Like I said, for the turbo kit, I'd tell you probably gonna end up, if you're buying one off the shelf, it's probably gonna be 10 to 12 grand to be shooting for this horsepower number. Luckily, I have a buddy, Mike, who's hooking me up. We're gonna be looking at about 3,500 in parts for the new turbo kit. So we're gonna add that to the price as well. So we're at 11,728 to complete the turbo kit. The only other thing is there is the intercooler that I left out. So yeah, I tacked that into the price of my total motor to Soho for the whole motor package. I believe the Soho, let me look it up real quick and make sure. I think the Soho intercooler is like 1,500 bucks. I'll just add that separately so you guys get an idea. Like I said, the whole off the shelf cost. Soho intercooler, I lied to you, it's not 1,500 bucks. It's 900 bucks for the Soho custom intercooler. And that is, we are now at $12,628. So now for the big boy stuff. Like I said, you can cheap out if you really just wanna risk it to see how far you can push the car without the heads lifting. You can try it, not gonna suggest it because obviously it's been a problem for a lot of people. I'm sure it's gonna be a problem for you as well. So like I said, previously I was gonna do a simple piston rod combo with just head studs. And I think it's around 6 to 8 grand to do that. If you send like the CSS, get it assembled, everything like that, parts included. And you can push it to whatever it's gonna take, but you're probably gonna have the cooling system pressurized, and it's probably gonna start lifting on you, brother. So I wouldn't suggest that. That's why I ended up just saying, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna drop the money and do it the right way the first time. So I hit up Soho. I am doing the stage 2 HB package. There's a ton that goes into it. We'll run through it all now. But basically, like I told you guys earlier, that motor is gonna be good for well over 1,000, and that's right what we're looking to make. So I will give you a quick rundown on the list of everything that is gonna be included in that motor package. So before we get to the cost, I'll tell you everything that's included. So out the gate, this is gonna be a turnkey motor. It's gonna be tested before they send it to you, and it's just ready to rock and roll, drop in the car. That is going to include the closed deck block, so they'll send that off to CSS to get that done. Soho Wiseco Pistons with upgraded pins and locks. I want the 12:1 compression ratio. There's different options for that as well, and that's why pricing does vary. Carrillo H-beam rods, King main bearings, Nissan rod bolts, ACL thrust washers. The stock crank is magnafluxed and balanced, cylinders bored and line honed. The deck is surfaced, main lines honed, ARP main studs. And then this is what's really solving the headlift issue, is the top fuel hoop. So the Soho top hoop service on the heads and block, the heads mildly ported and polished, new Viton valve seals, Soho custom head gaskets, ARP 625 plus head studs, rotating assembly balanced, boundary oil pump gears, EPS gallery gaskets, new OEM timing components and water pump, OEM gasket kit, and then being professionally assembled and blueprinted. And you also get your timing covers powder coated, whatever color of your choice. All of that, depending upon the route you decide to go, that's gonna cost you $16,000 to $18,000 out the door. So like I said, that's gonna be like, oh my God, so much money. It really isn't when you think about it. When it's one and done, this is gonna be the end all. You're gonna have a solid, reliable motor to be able to push this amount of power. You gotta think about it. Built 2J is gonna end up being around 20 grand plus for a fully built 2J done that right way. So it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Just the thing is, not a lot of people have pushed this platform that far yet. Now that we're getting there, you gotta pay to play if you're gonna make that kind of power. The other thing that is the weak link on these is the transmission. I'm on transmission number 3 right now. So they're actually working on getting that done as well. They're in the process of R&D and a new transmission that'll hopefully be able to hold a lot more than what I've put this one through, because even on 700 horsepower, I'm on transmission number 3, so we're making over 1,000. It's not gonna help any. So we're working on that as well. I think that's gonna be another like 2,400 bucks. So we're gonna call it on the high end. Like I said, we'll call it 18,000 if it's gonna be the absolute highest package you get. So this would be worst case scenario dollar amount. So 18,000, we're gonna add to that. So we're at $30,000 for the engine included. And then for the transmission, we'll call it 2,400. We're now at $33,028 for what I'm paying. Like I said, if you buy a turbo kit off the shelf, you're gonna see a lot higher of a figure than that. I'd assume it's probably gonna be around another $7,000. So this is what I'm gonna have into it about by the end of it is 33 grand. If you add the 7,000 for what a turbo kit costs off the shelf, if you don't have a buddy or yourself that can fabricate one for you, you're gonna be right at 40 grand. Like I said, there are cheaper ways to do it. They're not necessarily gonna work. So like I said, you can push it as far as you want, trying to hope the heads don't lift, but it's kind of inevitable at this point. Everyone that's really made high horsepower has dealt with it without having to do the top fuel hoop service on them. So basically, like I said, it sounds like a lot of money. If it's something that you're not in the position to do, I definitely would advise doing it. I mean, I'm even spending a lot more money than I wanted to originally, but I said, you know what? I'm probably gonna keep this car forever. It's literally got 20,000 miles on it. I've had 1,000 horsepower ZR1, I've had a GTR, I've had a Trackhawk. I've had tons of different stuff. This is the most fun vehicle I've had to drive. Single turbo manual car, rear wheel drive, just a whole different experience and everything else. And it's super awesome. I literally love this car to death. The one thing I did just forget to bring up that we'll add now, I do have a pair of S71 bead locks I'm gonna be buying off a buddy to put in the rear. Obviously, to put that much power down, you're gonna have the proper setup for a wheel and tire. This R888 is not gonna cut it without Motec. This ain't a Viper, so we're not gonna go Motec route with this. So like I said, that's gonna be another 2,500 bucks if you wanna add that to the running total, which will even cost you more if you do it brand new, but I'm getting a deal from a buddy, so I'm gonna run with those. Add that to the total, $42,528. So that's like another Nismo 370 Z1/2. So it costs a lot of money, but that being said, my motor is actually getting wrapped up at CSS as we speak. It should be going back to Soho Motorsports next week to get assembled. and then it'll be off to me. So once it gets here, basically all we're gonna have to do is pull the old motor out. We're going to be doing the turbo kit shortly after. So once the new motor's in, we're gonna get everything fabbed up. It's gonna head over to Mike, my buddy Mike Clam. Shout out Mike if you guys wanna check him out on Instagram. Look up Mike Clam, it's K-L-A-M-M. He's gonna be who's building the turbo kit in the car for me. And my boy Admin, he's gonna be who's tuning the car. So we got 3 huge people that are helping me out in this whole process. Soho Motorsports, shout out them. Mike Clam's gonna be doing the turbo kit, shout out Mike, and then my boy Monsif. We're gonna be hitting the roller shortly, so check out Admin Tuning as well. He tuned my prior setup, and we're gonna be sticking together with this one moving forward as well. But that'll basically wrap up the cost, give you guys an idea what it costs to make over 1,000 wheel horsepower in a Z. Like I said, obviously if you're not shooting for that 1,000 horsepower number, I do have a video on how much it costs to just solely boost the car alone. You can scroll back down my pages sometime last year, but I'll leave a link in the description for that video as well if you guys wanna check that one out. But it's coming, the time is coming. This thing is about to be making 1,000 horsepower soon. Super hyped about it. And I do have another announcement that's pending that I should be dropping next week. That's super exciting to tell you guys. So hopefully we'll get that one out here soon as well. That has to do with the vet, not so much this. I hope that answered questions for a lot of you guys so you understand what the cost is to get something like this done. And I hope it helps you make a decision on whether you're gonna do that or not. But I appreciate you guys watching the video. If you've made it this far, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We got tons coming and it does help me out so much. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. And we'll see you guys in the next video.